Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Rob Reviews. This week we are talking about Netflix's original movie, 1922. Now, unlike some of the Netflix originals I've been reviewing for this particular web series, this is one I probably would have watched anyway. Definitely not because of the subject matter. I'm not a huge fan of period pieces, especially ones that are set in this particular period. Honestly, I feel like if you watch anything that is set in the Depression, you've basically seen that story before. As a fan of history who's done a little bit of study on the topic, I know that the Depression, the story was the same for a lot of people. And if you've read Grapes of Wrath or anything in that particular genre, you know the story about being poor in the Dust Bowl in the pre-World War I, post-World War I era. And for me, there's not a lot of new ground to cover. But this had one of my favorite actors ever, Thomas Jane, in the leading role. That alone might have been enough for me to watch the movie, but then I saw Molly Parker as his wife in this movie, and I was like, okay, these two together on screen, this is going to be magic. I need to watch it, and I was not disappointed. Basically, it's the story of WIlfred James and his wife Arlette, and of course their son Henry, and their farm out in the Dust Bowl. Life is tough in Nebraska, especially at this time, and it certainly isn't made any easier when you have a wife who doesn't want to be there. Absolutely 100% watch this film. It is fantastic, and it will keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time. It has a slow burn, but as you get through it, you're just like, I want to know what's going on. I am in here with you, Thomas Jane. Get me there. Come on. The silences are everything. There is so much said in the visuals and the silences, almost more than what's said in the dialogue. And although that's not really my favorite way of filmmaking, certainly I do enjoy a good visual, and this movie does that fantastically. I can't say enough about the set design. I can't say enough about the location picking. Basically, this entire film takes place in basically a single location at the farmhouse. There are some places that are shot otherwise, but basically at the single location at the farmhouse. And the use of space, the way that the lighting is, it is magical. And you have never seen a small 1920s Nebraska farmhouse feel so big in some moments and so tiny and constricting in others. Just basically, Thomas Jane can make you feel like he is taking up the whole screen, or that he is a little sliver and that you need to lean in order to listen to him, like you guys are sharing a secret at other points. Dylan Schmidt, who plays his son, there is this weird dynamic that I honestly, one of the reasons I may have loved this movie so much is that bond, that way that they deal with each other is a lot of the way that I deal with my dad and I, the relationship that we have. It's a lot of unspoken stuff. It's a lot of looks and understanding and somehow being on the different wavelengths, but at the same time wanting to have a bigger and deeper relationship, but not really on the father side of things, maybe not having the emotionality or the ability to do that. And the son doing stupid things that tend to get his life a little messed up, and dad having to clean up the mess. That was basically my high school years. So I connected a lot with Dylan's portrayal of Henry James. It was something very close to my heart. Now, from this point out, there are going to be spoilers. Unfortunately, just the makeup of this movie, you can't really talk about it without talking about some spoilers. So be very careful if you haven't seen it yet, or if you're worried about some. I'm not going to give away everything that happens, obviously, but there is a major turning point in the middle of the movie that I'm going to discuss. Okay, so everybody's gone. All right, so the beginning of this movie is about how Wilfred just wants to stay and he wants to live this life. He chose this, and he thought that his wife chose it as well, and he thinks he's doing the right thing for his son, just fighting and scraping it out to try and stay in their homestead, right in this farm in Nebraska. And really what the sense that we get from his wife all along is that she is maybe hoping that they fail so that they can move back east and get back to a life that she's more accustomed to. Luckily or unluckily for Wilfred, his son shares the belief that this is his birthright, that farming on this land is his birthright, and he wants to keep it. And when he senses from his mother that that's not what she wants and that she is trying to get them out to move back east, they become unwitting accomplices at first, at the beginning, and then later on full-on accomplices. And this is where the movie really took a huge turn for me. I thought it was going to be this story about struggle and strife in 1922 farming in Nebraska. And honestly, I'm down for anything that Thomas Jane is in. I don't care. I could just watch him sitting in a blank white room talking to this camera for 90 minutes, I'm in. I got it. It's fine. But, that's not maybe the most robust subject matter for a movie. And I thought maybe 1922 Nebraska wasn't that robust as well, until father and son become accomplices in the murder of wife mother. Because she's decided she's leaving, she's going to divorce him, which means he's going to have to sell off part of his land, the part that he got from her family, and then inevitably sell off probably his part of his land as well. And the farm can barely survive on the land that they have. There's only one option. He's got to kill her. That's where the second half of this story turns, and it becomes something so much more complex and so much more fantastic, because instead of just being the story about Nebraska, it turns into this story of guilt. It is at some points crime and punishment, Dostoevsky. It is at some points the telltale heart. The narrator, Wilfred, who you think is so reliable at the very beginning, and who you're just with him like, man, this guy is just down to earth and just wants the best for him and his family. And then all of a sudden, weird stuff starts happening, and it honestly makes you question everything that you've seen from his point of view. Has any of that been exactly what it seemed? And as you're creeping towards the final conclusion of the movie, what I started asking myself was anything real? Can I trust anything I thought about his wife? And I was not her biggest fan around the time that the murder happened. Can I trust any of that? Or can I look at him and I see those telltale heart symptoms? For Wilfred, it's dreams and hallucinations and hearing things and hearing and seeing things, basically. Is that a sign that everything that happened before the murder is legitimate, and we can trust that, and then everything that happens is just his guilt coming through to him? I don't know. And that's the kind of things that I love leaving a movie or a story with, where you have something to talk about afterward, because everyone's going to have a little bit different perspective on when things kind of like skewed off into the surreal. There is nothing better than that kind of movie-going experience. And luckily, with Netflix's 1922, you get to experience that right at home. So we finish it up. I look over at the people who are standing there and I'm like, so what was that? At the beginning, you see him writing a letter, and it turns out that at the end, what he's writing is really his confession about everything that happened. And in very telltale heart fashion, in fact, it's really Stephen King's take on the telltale heart from Edgar Allan Poe. All told, the more I think about it, that's basically exactly what it is. But nonetheless, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming until the moment when it happened. And when it happens, you are just so blown away. My friends and I have this discussion about Tom Hanks, about how it's hard to go see a Tom Hanks movie. It's hard to go see a Nick Cage movie, because basically what I see is Tom Hanks or Nick Cage playing a part. Thomas Jane is the opposite for me. He draws me into these characters, and I completely forget who it is that I'm watching. I forget that this is Thomas Jane. I am with WIlfred James. I have no idea who this Thomas Jane you speak of is. I'm here with this character, and he did that for me 100%. The way that the story starts to wind up gets you feeling all kinds of things about him and these mixed emotions. I've said in previous posts things about how characters need to be complex. I need to see a good guy and a bad guy. I need to see a bad guy that's also a good guy. And Wilfred is all of these mind-blowing things. Like, you understand why he does what he does, but you want him to do better. You want him to do things differently. Sometimes he does things and you actually want him to be a little more bad. Like, make a better decision, even if it's evil. I don't care. Do what you have to do. Sometimes you need to make a good decision. Like, the complexity of Wilfred James, played by Thomas Jane, is fantastic. And Dylan Schmidt did a fantastic job playing a teenager who is thrust into this situation where not only now is he has to grow up almost overnight, but then he's thrown in some very adult situations, some very adult decisions that have to be made after that, just dealing with the cleanup of everything. And it all comes down to this one day in 1922 where their lives changed forever. And I'm not a huge fan of reading the source literature after watching the movie. I figure if I haven't read it before, as an avid reader myself, if I haven't read it before, I don't think I would want to read it. This is the kind of thing that after seeing this film, I want to go read that 131-page story by Stephen King and see how much more he can blow my mind in the actual novel. It is one of those as well. Like, after I saw it the first time, I was like, I have to go read this novel because it's got to be so much better in paper novel form, and it was. And I imagine that 1922 is going to be that as well. So I don't know that you can knock something out of the park any more than you can 1922, the Netflix original film. On Rotten Tomatoes, it was given an 88%, with an audience score of 60%, and I think that is insanely low. I give this 4.5 stars. It is so good. I am reserving a 5-star for like the perfect film, and God knows if I'll ever actually find something on Netflix that is a 5 that wasn't done somewhere else, that wasn't a movie from somewhere else. But 4.5 stars, I cannot rave about it enough. It is so good. Please take the time to watch 1922. I imagine that the audience score, the low audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, has a lot to do with the fact that it's a period piece, that it has these long visuals, these long 10-second hold on Thomas Jane. He says something short and sweet, and then another 10-second hold. Like, I love that visual, that message that it's sending. Some people might not, so if you don't, this may not be the movie for you, but give it a chance. It is a slow burn, and you will love it, I swear. Check it out, 1922. It was first available on October 20th, 2017 on Netflix, so it's still about 2 months old. 100% worth it. Go see it today. Well, there you go, everybody. Another episode of Rob Reviews, this time talking about Netflix's 1922. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Make sure you're getting those notifications for all the newest videos. We're going to try and do a new Rob Reviews episode every single week, and you don't want to miss out on those. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find all of those links right there at Robert N. Cheek, everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, everywhere you can find me at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, the news website, and the books, which are available on Amazon. And of course, if you'd like to help me make more videos just like this one, head on over to patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, where you can become one of my supporters, get access to all kinds of bonus materials, including these videos ahead of everyone else. But you can help support me and my content production, whether that's screenwriting for screenplays, for teleplays, more content on YouTube like this, and everything else that I have going on. Go on over to patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek to check out more about that. Until next time, have a great week, everybody.